and a future Deputy President of South Africa. Because on the 8th of May, we will be voting for the EFF. We are going to be voting for the EFF here in Eastern Cape and the whole of South Africa. So we have intentions of making him the Deputy President. The Deputy President Wetuke has been in the struggle for a very long time. We don't need to even present his credentials here. He's a product of this kind of an environment, similar to this one. He's a former president of Wits University. He's a former spokesperson of other organizations that I won't mention. I have my reasons why DP I can't mention those things. He is the current Deputy President of the EFF. He is here today to speak to us and motivate you fighters about the battles ahead. It's not only about the 25th of April. It's also about the 8th of May. We are going to head over to the Deputy President to speak to you. You are going to learn a lot today, comrades. Some of you have seen the DP educating Parliament on a variety of issues. He is an inspiration to some of us. He's not just standing here in front of us without any form of education. He holds serious degrees with masters, pursuing, if I'm not mistaken, doctoral studies. The EFF is not led by uneducated people. Is led by educated people. I don't want to say my credentials. It's not about me here. It's about the Deputy President. So let's welcome Deputy President of the EFF. Let's welcome you, DP. And I think you can welcome the DP with a youth song, comrades. Amanda.
Viva EFF, viva! Viva EFF Students Command, viva! Amanda! Away, two! Thank you very much, Commissar Zini Tetana, the chairperson of the EFF in the Eastern Cape Province, the chairperson of the branch and the branch student command team leadership, and most importantly, all of you who came here. We're supposed to start at 1 o'clock, but we're delayed because we had to speak to your co-students, your fellow students in the East London campus. And we're supposed to speak to them at 11 o'clock, and they requested that we must start there at 12:30. So we came from East London from speaking to students there. But also we have got another program later on today in Port Elizabeth, where we're going to be talking to branches of the EFF to prepare for the victory of the EFF on the 8th of May. So you will know that we are in the middle of a very hectic election program. We are busy preparing volunteer teams for all the 4,791 voting stations here in the Eastern Cape. So you can imagine that in all the 4,791 voting stations, the EFF must have party agents, must have volunteers who are going to man the table outside the voting station, must have ground forces who must call all the people who had agreed to vote for the EFF, and in some instances try to go and fetch them. So we're trying to put that machinery for election day. We have to start now so that we do not have a problem. Here in the Eastern Cape, we've got 33 municipalities, we've got 3.3 million voters. So at least we must get half of that as the EFF here. So we need a proper machinery. That is why part of the things I'm going to talk to you about is what becomes your role as students in terms of making sure that we have got the perfect elections machinery when we go on the 8th of May. Now, fighters, we are in the middle of a very hectic program. So last week, we're meeting with all the wards and branches here of Raymond Mhlaba municipality. And then the leadership of the branch from Fort Hare came to request that perhaps we should come and speak to you and intervene for your SRC elections on Wednesday the 25th. And my immediate response was no. There is no need for anyone to come here. You must campaign for yourself. You must sell yourself. You must tell the students as the student command what you stand for. But later on I then came to the realization and importance that every time there's an opportunity to speak to students, we should do so as the leadership of the economic freedom fighters. Because amongst you, there's going to be future leaders of the economic freedom fighters. Amongst you, there's future leaders of this country, South Africa. Amongst you will be the people who are going to bring about the economic freedom struggle. More especially here in the University of Fort Hare, you would know that in terms of production of freedom fighters, Fort Hare is unrivaled in the entire African continent in terms of the people who came here to study here. So the alumni of this university is one of the most formidable alumni in the entire Africa in terms of production of leaders who got to lead the struggles against colonialism, in terms of the people who got to lead the struggles against apartheid. Z.K. Matthews was a student here in the University of Fort Hare. Z.K. Matthews is the one who conceptualized the Freedom Charter. He's the one who said that there must be a Congress of the people to draft a Freedom Charter. And you would know that the Freedom Charter, amongst other things, says that the mineral wealth beneath the soil, the land, the banks shall be transferred to the ownership of the people as a whole. Now, in the EFF founding manifesto, we say that the EFF ascribes to the radical version of the Freedom Charter. And what is that? It is the one that says, if we say that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, it must truly reflect in the ownership and control of the land. The African majority must be the majority of the land in South Africa. So Z.K. Matthews, who conceptualized the Freedom Charter, was a student here. Govan Mbeki was a student here. Nelson Mandela was a student here in Fort Hare University. Oliver Tambo was a student here in the Fort Hare University. Julius Mwalimu Nyerere was a student here. Herbert Chitepo was a student here. Herbert Chitepo is the leader of ZANU. So you know, in Zimbabwe, before we had ZANU PF, there used to be ZAPU and there used to be ZANU. And the more progressive components of the two was ZANU, which was under the leadership of Herbert Chitepo. Seretse Khama, the first president of Botswana, was a student here in Fort Hare University. Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe was a student here. Robert Sobukwe was the most feared leader by the apartheid regime. So the apartheid regime was more fearful of Robert Sobukwe than they were fearful of Nelson Mandela. That is a fact. That is why when they arrested him, they said he must not be in contact with other people. He must be kept in isolation. Why? Because they were scared that Robert Sobukwe is going to reproduce himself into many Robert Sobukwes. And once we had had many Robert Sobukwes from 1960 onwards, South Africa's freedom could have come earlier than 1994. Because Robert Sobukwe was not a coward. Robert Sobukwe was courageous. Robert Sobukwe was not scared of the apartheid police. He led and inspired the first action in Sharpeville when the apartheid regime killed our people on the 21st of March. Because he was not fearful of the system. He is a product of this university. The first medical doctor, Mary Mahlalela, is from this university. First black female medical doctor is from this university. Chris Hani studied here in this university. So this university is a reservoir of freedom fighters. It should, in our generation, be a reservoir. It must be a factory where we produce economic freedom fighters. And we must take that battle ourselves. We must make it a point that in as much as this university produced those that fought against colonialism and apartheid, let us produce fighters who are going to confront neo-colonialism, who are going to confront economic apartheid, which continues to exist in South Africa. How do we know that we have got economic apartheid in South Africa? The economy is still in the hands and control, the ownership of the white minority. Under political apartheid, all political power was concentrated in the hands of the white minority. And black people were just appendages. They were just accompanying them. They even said black people must just be hewers of wood and drawers of water. Under economic apartheid, the economy is still in the hands of those that controlled and owned it before 1994. The reason the EFF exists is because we want to fight against economic apartheid. And at the center of that struggle is the land question. That is why Cardinal Pillar number 1 in the EFF founding manifesto is expropriation of land without compensation for equal redistribution. We say, let us make the state the custodian of all of South Africa's land so that we can give it back to our people. Why did we come to that determination in 2013 when the EFF was founded? It's because we had realized that scientifically, liberation movements are unable to lead an economic emancipation struggle. All the anti-colonial struggles and movements are failed projects. All of them. ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe is a failure. Chama Pinduzi in Tanzania is a failure. SWAPO in Namibia is a failed project. Frelimo in Mozambique is a failed project. Kwame Nkrumah tried to lead a struggle. He led one of the most successful anti-colonial struggles, not only in Ghana, but in the entire African continent. But when he took power in Ghana, the project failed. The ANC in South Africa is a total dismal failure. It's part of what liberation movements are. You will never point me to any liberation movement which has been able to wrestle economic power from the former colonizers. You know, if you read Fanon, you will say that majority of the times, the post-colonial African society is unable to transcend beyond political freedom. They've got no knowledge of their own economy. You can go to a majority of these ANC leaders. They do not know what is the size of South Africa's economy. They do not know what is strategic and what is not strategic in the economy of South Africa. That is why they think that the most progressive thing to do is to distribute social grants. Billboards, no, we have given social grants to our people. They will never make a claim that we have taken back our land, we have taken back our factories, the banks, to produce for ourselves. Because liberation movements, by their very nature, have got a special purpose of attaining independence and political freedom. They have no capacity, none whatsoever, to realize economic freedom. That is why there was a clarion call to say, what do we do? What is to be done when we have got a liberation movement here in South Africa, which is following the same path as all the failed projects in the African continent? They take the same direction. It's only people who are not proper here who will think that the ANC will bring about progressive economic change. It will never happen. It will never happen. Even some of the progressive things which are beginning to happen because of the EFF, if the ANC retains political power, I can assure you now that those things are going to be reversed. You know, when Jacob Zuma was desperate, he was leaving office, he announced that there's going to be free education. I can tell you now, if Ramaphosa comes back to power with a renewed and bigger majority, that free education of Zuma will be history. The 5th Parliament resolved that we must amend the Constitution to allow for expropriation of land without compensation. If the ANC comes back to power, I can tell you that the land will not be given to our people. We're going to be stuck in the gradualism that defined the ANC's approach to the land question. What is that gradualism? Is that in 25 years, they've redistributed, they've actually bought 10% of the land from white people, spent billions of rands, more than 8 billion rands, spent to buy land, stolen property from white people. They take money which is supposed to finance free education. You know, 8 billion can provide free education for all, can give us proper accommodation, can give us proper residence, can understand that students with disability must be taken care of, and not cramp them in residences that are far, that are not easily accessible. But the ANC took that money and bought land from white settlers. And in the 25 years of this so-called freedom, they bought less than 10% of that land. What that means is that in 50 years, if they continue to be in power, they would have bought 20%. In 75 years, they would have bought 30%. In 100 years, they would have bought 40%, meaning that the white minority will still be in control of our economy. And at the core of white supremacy and racism, the very fact that white people think that we are inferior, we are incapable, is because we are not in control of our economy. The first contact white children have with black people is as domestic workers and gardeners. Is as people who are less important to them. That is why even when they go to universities, even when they go to the professional sector, they still think of black people as inferior. Why? Because they're in control of the economy. They're in control of the major factories of the banks. They're in charge of everything. We celebrate the roles of all the freedom fighters. All the people who fought against apartheid and colonialism. We say well done and thank you very much. But what you represented is scientifically proven now, cannot bring about total freedom. We say thank you to Nelson Mandela, to Oliver Tambo, to Herbert Chitepo, to Julius Malema Nyerere, to Kwame Nkrumah, to all of them, to Chris Hani, to all of them. They played their role, but they can't take the struggle beyond this. And whose mission is that? It is our mission as a generation of economic freedom fighters. The mission to take the struggle towards total economic emancipation. It's a mission that we should fulfill. In 2013, on the 26th of July, we resolved that question. The economic freedom fighters resolved that question. After a question had been asked, what is to be done? And we had to rely on Fanon, who says that each generation must discover its mission. And it has got two options. You fulfill or you betray that mission. And that generation that started the EFF, all of us here, we have a commitment, we have got an appointment with the future that we must fulfill our mission. And that mission is to attain economic freedom in our lifetime. And what is this economic freedom? Is to say, let us reclaim the ownership and control of our economy. The economy is the land. The economy are the banks. The economy is the huge retail stores. The economy is the huge factories. The economy reclamation means that we must be able to produce our own things. We must not be exporters of raw and semi-processed products and import all finished goods and services. Do you know here in South Africa we have got more than 100 million gadgets for communication purposes, telephones of different forms. None of them are produced here in South Africa. That is why the founding manifesto of the EFF sets as its cardinal pillars massive industrialization, massive protected industrialization to create millions of jobs. You can imagine how many people can you employ to produce 100 million cell phones? All the home appliances, all of them. The washing machines, the fridges, the irons, they come from outside. Seated here, all of us, we are wearing textile that is not made in South Africa, all of us. How many jobs are created for the textile that we are wearing? All of us. The food that you eat is not made in South Africa. Because these ShopRite, Checkers, Pick and Pay, Spar, Boxer, all of them, they go to Brazil, they go to China, they go to India, they go to Europe to buy food there for us so that they can retail to us. Meaning that our existence, our economic existence, is creating millions of jobs of people elsewhere. We cannot do anything. We do not have anything. Let's say maybe it is difficult to do that. In the professional services, the biggest accounting firms, the biggest law firms in South Africa are owned by foreign companies. KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and all of those things. They are owned by foreigners. Then the EFF is fighting for economic sovereignty. We are fighting for economic independence. That is why in the founding manifesto and in the elections manifesto, we detail how should we drive inward industrialization to produce our own goods and services. And that is going to create jobs for all the people who are looking for jobs in South Africa. Currently, we have got more than 9 million people who do not have jobs. Go and read the ANC manifesto. They will say, we are going to create 275,000 jobs per year. And that is exactly the same number of people who join the job market every year, or even more than that. So already they've declared a crisis that there won't be jobs created under an ANC government. The EFF advocates for inward industrialization. We are saying let us break away from neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is when you open up your economy to go and fetch finished goods from other parts of the world. You are not in control of the economy. You allow the private sector to determine the paths and the pace of your economy. And that is what is a decisive break of the EFF from what the ANC stands for. The EFF is not the ANC. We do not represent the same thing. The EFF is a Marxist-Leninist organization that says, let us break away from neoliberalism. Because if we do not do that, our people are going to be trapped in underdevelopment forever. Now, fighters, it is possible for a country to be trapped in underdevelopment forever. There are countries which celebrated their freedom 60 years ago, but nothing has changed. The white minority is still in control. Go to Ghana, go to Tanzania, parts of Tanzania, go to Zambia. You know, some of the things that you complain about here are multiple there. They are reproduced 3 or 4 times. But they attained their political freedom long time ago. We do not want South Africa to take that direction. We want all of us to be in the struggle for economic freedom. All of us must be economic freedom fighters. Now, in this war for economic emancipation, there will be a lot of battles. Battles there. You know, in the war, you fight a battle here, you fight, but it's part of the war. Your SRC elections here on the 25th, on Wednesday, is part of the battles in the war for economic freedom. That is why we are here to instruct you, the ground forces of the EFF, to go and win elections on Wednesday. You must do everything in your power to win the SRC elections. And the good thing about that victory is that when you are in charge of the SRC here, you are not going to struggle on your own. The leadership of the EFF will be there at all times to give support. Everything else you need, we are going to be there. When you take up the struggles about security, we are going to raise it with you immediately. We are not going to wait for tomorrow. When you raise the issues of student accommodation, where there is too much corruption there, we are going to take up the same struggle as well. So when you vote for the EFF Student Command, when you convince others, you must tell the students that we are going to be properly represented. Not only by the people who are with us here, the leadership will be paying closer attention to all our struggles. So fighters, let us go. One, to make sure that we win the SRC elections on Wednesday. Do you know in the EFF we do not buy votes through t-shirts. But we say to the leadership that if you are able to reproduce yourself, if here in campus you get 200 additional volunteers, we'll give them t-shirts, all of them. Even if they are 1,000 tomorrow, today and tomorrow you say that we have reproduced ourselves, we have been joined by many, we want to be part of this economic freedom struggle. We'll give t-shirts to all of them. So we'll leave t-shirts here. As and when you recruit more and more volunteers, you must send them to the leadership of the branch to go and collect their t-shirts, but also a canvassing sheet. That is one of the things that you must know, that you should own up to your struggles. You must fight your own battles. The EFF is a proper weapon that is fighting against racism, that is fighting for total emancipation. Black people in South Africa do not have any other organization that represents them except the EFF. Because the ANC is representing the interest of white people. The reason why Cyril Ramaphosa is over-celebrated is because he's a product of white people. Go and read his biographies and check, when did white people capture Cyril Ramaphosa? When he was in his mid-20s, 24, 25, already they had put him in a board of the Urban Foundation in 1976, when young kids were being killed in Soweto. When Hector Peterson was being killed in Soweto, Cyril Ramaphosa at that time, he was already whining and dining with the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers. It is not us who say it, it is his own book that says it. It is his own book, it's a record of history that says it. You should ask yourself a question. Why did Cyril Ramaphosa freely move in all the mines? Why was he not arrested? Why would apartheid government arrest and kill a teenager in the form of Solomon Mahlangu, but leave this person who is a freedom fighter to roam around in mines organizing mine workers? That is Cyril Ramaphosa for you. He's a product of the white establishment. Because they control the media, they control everything. They will always portray him as God. They actually call him God. He was in Stellenbosch talking to farm owners there. They were saying, no, you are God, you are sent by God. Why do they say that? Because they know that he is going to protect their interests. He is going to protect white privilege. He is going to protect white privilege. But it is only the EFF that can stop that. It is only the economic freedom fighters that can stop the white agenda of Cyril Ramaphosa. We must not allow to go back to colonialism. If anything, let us fight against colonialism. And all these battles that we engage in are important. Everywhere we are, we must be defined by courage. You can't be a fighter who is a coward. You can't be a fighter who is not courageous. Fighters must be able to take up their own battles. You must confront every situation immediately. Even before you then bring the issues to us, which we'll attend to, you must first exhaust, what do we do here before we call the province or national office to come and help us with our struggles? What do we do with the immediate challenges? If there is someone who is corruptly allocating residences, you must take a resolution as a branch and say, that person no longer works in the University of Fort Hare. Just like that, and you prevent that person from coming to work. To say, until you come back to your senses, you are no longer an employee here. Unless you get proper accommodation. You must not be quick to want to refer the struggles elsewhere. Don't defer the struggles. Take up your own battles. Be your own fighters here. You must not want to postpone and say we're going to rely on the deputy president when this issue requires the commander-in-chief. What is the issue? No, the problem is that they delayed food in the dining hall. You can deal with that here. You must take up your battles and fight them yourselves. We will know when the battles are beyond your capacity and will intervene. You will never have a follower, you will never have a supporter if you are not courageous. There is no one in the world who follows cowards. The EFF is rising in strength because it is not led by cowards. The fact that we are the first political organization, first black organization to find expression in all corners of South Africa within 5 years of existence is a sign of courage of the leadership of the EFF. There is no municipality where the EFF is not present. All the legislatures, the EFF is there. You can go to Stellenbosch municipality, you will find EFF councillors fighting for the land there. You can go to Wittenberg, you can go to Abatulus, you can go to Zululand, to everywhere. You can go to Tabazimbi, all the municipalities. EFF fighters are fighting there. You would know that even with the student command, all corners, the EFF is there. We should take up the struggles. Now lastly, fighters, this 25 April is a battle site. Let us win the SRC elections. Let us convince all the students to vote for the EFF Students Command. But also after that, we must talk to the Councillor here, Mavuso, to say we want to volunteer either on weekends or when we are available to go and help the EFF in branches. This is how the situation is like. We need a minimum of 20 volunteers in each and every voting station here in Raymond Mhlaba. We need a minimum of 20 volunteers who will be there to do work of the organization. So outside of us being obsessed with our own immediate issues, let us appreciate that our struggle is bigger than this campus. Our struggle is connected to what is happening in the communities. Steve Biko was prominent because he understood the direct relationship between student and community struggles. Under his leadership, SASO, which Steve Biko led, they were not just talking rhetoric about community involvement. They will start employment projects, being students. You must remember Steve Biko died before the age of 35. He was youth throughout. They will build healthcare centers and clinics in communities. Because they appreciated that you can't contain yourself in student struggles only and neglect what is happening in the community. The immediate task that we have, all of us now, is to go and make sure that the EFF records a resounding victory on the 8th of May. We must be volunteers, we must be party agents. The leadership of the sub-region, of the region, of the province, must organize transport, must organize food, and have the schedule of all of you to say which wards, which voting districts do you need assistance with. Because the ANC is busy telling lies there. They go around saying when the EFF takes over, the social grant is going to disappear. Why? Because that is the only vote which they are relying on. They maximize on the semi-literacy of our people. So they make our people semi-literate by denying them access to education, give them social grants, and then they use that as a base for electoral support. As students who know that there is no government which is going to cancel social grants, we must go to our people and educate our people. Because we will not win this battle without raising the levels of consciousness amongst our people. You must tell our people that instead of cutting the social grant, the EFF is going to double it. Why? Because we must take care of the people that cannot take care of themselves. We must take care. The state must take care of all the people who cannot take care of themselves. And these are poor people who are old and children. We must unapologetically do so. But you need some degree of economy to achieve all of that. You need industrialization to achieve that. You need a bigger revenue base to take care of the people. That is why our manifesto is elaborate in growing the economy, in industrializing here, in creating jobs for the people. Because once you have got additional jobs, it means your tax base is going to increase. Because all people who are employed are going to pay taxes directly through personal income tax. They are going to pay tax through the value-added tax, the VAT. Because they will be having buying power. And that is going to increase the revenue of the state. It's going to create more jobs. It is going to position the state to have more money to take care of people that cannot take care of themselves. That is why the question that says, where are you going to get the money to increase social grants, is asked by people who have only read a sentence in the manifesto of the EFF. It's 172 pages. And a person reads one sentence and says, yeah, I'm going to critique the EFF manifesto. Why are you going to get the money? Read the chapters on the fiscal framework. Read the chapters on the jobs. The most comprehensive strategy to bring jobs to our people. But all of that will not happen if we do not win the battles ahead of us. If we do not win the battles that are facing us now. So fighters, let us go on the ground. Let us speak to all the students. Let us invite all of them to vote for the Economic Freedom Fighter Students Command on Wednesday. But also when you are SRC, you must be responsible. You must not be excited by that power. You must not do wrong things. You must not think that now you are in charge and you even relocate from the residences in the university and go and find something nice outside. No, we do not want that. When you are SRC, you must stay with students. You must not, because now you are SRC president, want to become promiscuous. You think that all of a sudden you are a chama boy, you are going to have girlfriends all over. because of the power of the EFF. The power of the EFF must not be misused for personal gain. You must respect the students. They are the ones that must give you the responsibility to lead properly. You must be available always. You must answer the phones of numbers that you do not have in your phone book, even if it's 12 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes the form of assistance that we give to students does not need you to spend any money. Sometimes it's just a quick intervention. You can prevent the student from being excluded. And we're not theorizing about this. We're talking about things that we did when we were student leaders. It was impossible to willy-nilly exclude students in the university when we let them. The deans of faculties knew that if I expel those students, there's going to be a huge backlash from the SRC. And that should be the attitude that your role as SRC is to make sure that all the students are here in the university and they pass all of them. That is what we need. And what we need to pass, we need textbooks, you need access to computers. You must sleep in a proper residence. You must have all the basic things